Spell battle+spiritual energy recovery+high martial arts+special abilities+non-toxic+no descending intelligence. Chu Tian travels through the blue star, where there are incredibly powerful beasts and humans who break through the gene chain to unlock abilities. As a veteran anime enthusiast in his past life, Chu Tian obtained 5 identical, 6 eyes, and boundless spells during the awakening ceremony, flying into the sky and embarking on the path to becoming the strongest. Chapter 1. The Bitter Chu Tian. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Non-toxic points, no drop intelligence routine, no collapse of combat power, balance set to no lower limit, the written high martial arts text is not invincible. Please bring your brain to read the article. Wishing all handsome and beautiful women a pleasant reading experience. Zhejiang City, Zhejiang No. 1 Middle School. The dusk approaching evening shone through the glass on the podium of Class 17, Grade 3. Paired with the teacher on the platform, it gives people a visual experience of a picture scroll. Classmates, tomorrow is your awakening day. The teacher hopes that everyone present can calm down and believe that they can awaken a good ability. It's getting late, day students should hurry back home. Residential students should rest well tonight and don't have to study late. Class is over. After class teacher Huang Gang finished speaking, the students in the classroom walked towards the door one after another. Among them, there are some who are excited, anxious, and indifferent. For students in this gifted university, awakening to their abilities is the best way to explain to their parents. However, psychics are quite rare, and on average, only 1 out of 10,000 people can awaken a psychic ability, let alone obtain a good one. Even though they have been exposed to supernatural knowledge since childhood and have a much higher probability of awakening, there is only a chance of about 8%. It can be said that whether a salted fish can turn over depends on tomorrow's awakening ceremony. After all, this is not the Earth of the 21st century. A few minutes later, most of the students in the classroom had already left, with only a few remaining in the classroom to discuss with each other. Among them is Chu Tian sleeping on the desk. Hello, Chu Tian. A beautiful voice came, waking up Chu Tian who was still dreaming. After Chu Tian lifted his head, he realized that he was calling his desk mate Mengyao, who was also recognized as the school flower. He couldn't help but speak up. I said miss you, please don't let me down anymore. There are so many people who like you, but you only care about me. I'm almost becoming a public enemy of schoolboys. What you received in your shoe cabinet was a love letter, but what I received in my shoe cabinet was a war letter. After Chu Tian was awakened, he didn't get angry when he saw that it was Mengyao. He just expressed his pain with an extremely tragic expression. Alright, don't get angry. I just wanted to ask you, how confident are you about tomorrow's awakening ceremony? Mengyao lay in front of Chu Tian and poked his head with one finger, asking. Faced with this question, Chu Tian sighed and began to constantly think in his mind. That's right, Chu Tian is not an indigenous person of this planet, but a genuine earthling. In his previous life, when Chu Tian was 18 years old, he bravely sacrificed himself to save a little girl who was about to be killed by a truck. So Shidi traveled through different worlds. What made Chu Tian suffer was that the planet he crossed was called Blue Star, with an area twice that of Earth. Overall, it looked like a parallel world of Earth. However, 80 years ago, the spiritual energy of Blue Star revived. In an instant, the specifications of the entire world were baptized, and the animals in nature were the first to absorb spiritual energy. After absorbing spiritual energy, they no longer fear the weaker humans, even the weakest group, and their combat power is dozens of times higher than before. Not to mention those that have fully evolved. And humans collectively refer to these mutated animals as exotic beasts. Call this disaster, Great Silence. Of course, humans in this world are not waiting to die either. Humans with good genes are the first to awaken their abilities and compete with exotic beasts. 80 years have passed, and whether it is the development of human abilities or technological progress, they are no longer comparable to what they used to be. Experts predict that if given another 200 years, the entire blue star will return to human rule. Of course, believe it or not, anyway Chu Tian doesn't believe it. To be honest, I have no confidence at all, Chu Tian said slowly as he put his thoughts aside after speaking. Chu Tian sighed again. This is also not to be blamed on Chu Tian. When others traveled, they received their payment in seconds, but there was no movement at all when they arrived at him. 18 years, a whole 18 years. Do you know how he spent these 18 years? That, of course, is his sister who has no blood relationship with him. She has been gentle all day. But this does not prevent Chu Tian from considering himself ordinary. There's no way, compared to other travelers, he may be the most pulling group. There's no need to be so pessimistic, right? Mengyao spoke out to comfort, and her slender little hand slowly placed on Chu Tian's head. When she spoke again, her face turned slightly red. No big deal. No big deal, can I take care of you for a lifetime, Mississippi? This sentence seemed to have exhausted all of Menyao's strength. When Chu Tian looked at her with shocked eyes, the girl had already shyly lowered her head. At the same time, this sentence also made Chu Tian realize that his relationship with Mengyao was indeed a bit ambiguous. The two of them were like being arranged by fate. Since junior high school, there has never been a year when they were classmates or classmates. It has been going on until now. It's not an exaggeration to say it's a childhood sweetheart. In the other corner of the classroom, a person with a dark face saw Chu Tian and Mengyao flirting there, but dared not speak up. Although he is pursuing Mengyao, he always insists on matching his family in everything. His surname is Wang and his name is Shui Kuan. He is the second-generation ancestor of Wangping Group in Zijing City. He looks very impressive, but cannot compare with Mengyao. Mengyao is a top-tier family in southern Guangdong province, the daughter of the Yu family. It's strange to be interested in him. Watching Chu Tian and Mengyao sprinkle dog food there, I could only eat it silently. Angry, he ordered the younger brother on the side, "Monkey, please continue to take people to block this kid. If you can't even block your fart anymore, I can't spare you tomorrow." The young man who was called the monkey's face tightened and immediately agreed, "Yes, yes. Wang Xiao, you can rest assured that you can block it this time." The small movements of Wang Shuikuan and the monkey were naturally captured by Chu Tian with his spare light. Previously, Chu Tian was too lazy to talk to anyone, but now at least he's almost graduating and must tidy up. After chatting with Mengyao again and comforting the girl's shy mood a little, Chu Tian put on his backpack and walked leisurely towards home. He didn't pay any attention to the actions of monkeys and others. At least as a time traveler, after confirming that he didn't have any cheats, Chu Tian used his spare time to exercise. There are not only superpowers in this world, but also some people who specialize in physical training. These people, because they have not awakened their superpowers, can only develop in another direction. Since the Great Tranquility, the genes of organisms have undergone changes, no longer limited to the original upper limit of physical fitness, and humans have also born a new system. That's it, warrior. Of course, it just sounds good. Compared to those with special abilities, martial artists are far inferior. Not to mention that one superpower can deal with two warriors of the same level, just the cultivation speed alone has greatly increased. A superpower absorbs the spiritual energy from heaven and earth to improve its level, while a warrior can only strengthen their body and use spiritual energy as an aid. The cultivation speed cannot be compared to one of them. After all, psychics can also use the accumulated spiritual energy in their bodies to strengthen a certain part of their body and achieve the same body defense as warriors in a short period of time. Although it cannot be used to strengthen physical strength, don't forget what the first two words of a superpower are for. Chapter 2. Start of Awakening Ceremony. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On his way home this time, Chu Tian deliberately changed his mind and walked towards an alley. And the goal is naturally to lure monkeys and others out. Whether it is a monster, a superpower, or a warrior, they all have the same level division, from weak to strong, with a total of 1 to 9 levels, and each level has 3 sub-levels. Lower, middle, and upper. Chu Tian is very clear that with his current physical condition, he has a full punch power of 900 kilograms, roughly at the level of a first-level superior, but he has not been certified by the martial arts school. This is even more powerful than Tyson. I don't know if they can handle it anymore. Quickly, Chu Tian arrived at this alley. As soon as he arrived in the dark area, a sound of footsteps could be heard from behind. Turning around, it was the monkeys who were looking at Chu Tian with a mischievous smile on their faces. "Kid, if you want to blame me, I'll blame you for being too handsome. If you dare to steal our boss's woman, I must give you some color to taste today. That's it. We must give this kid some color to taste tonight. That's it." With the monkey leading the way, the other dog legs also followed suit, slowly approaching Chu Tian bit by bit, waving a baseball bat in their hands. Seeing this scene, Chu Tian just smiled dumbfounded and didn't take them to heart. Although people without superpowers can still choose the path of being a warrior, not everyone can be a warrior. After all, talent is there. Some people only have second or third levels after practicing for a lifetime, while others can achieve it in just a few years. The monkeys and others in front of him were as thin as humans, and they knew at a glance that they were at the level of thugs. Chu Tian naturally didn't have to worry about not being able to beat them. But instead, one should worry about not controlling their strength well and killing them directly. After the monkeys arrived at Chu Tian's side, they slowly stood in a circle, forming a trend of encirclement. Feeling the gaze around him, Chu Tian couldn't help but spit out a sentence. "Because you are very weak." Chu Tian didn't feel embarrassed, he just felt a bit awkward. Immediately, disregarding the confusion of the people around him, Chu Tian's fists and feet had already landed on them. "Ah ah ah. Ah. Big brother, I was wrong. Don't kick my second brother. Ah ah." With the monkey episode, by the time Chu Tian returned home, it was already 7 p.m., about 40 minutes slower than usual. Looking at the door in front of him, Chu Tian was thinking, how can I open it without being noticed by my sister? But it seems inexplicable, and Chu Tian can only accept his fate. As expected, Chu Xiaoxiao, who had just opened the door and was sitting at the dining table waiting to serve, immediately hugged Chu Tian and gave him a big bear hug. Brain melon seeds rubbed against Chu Tian's chest while shouting, "Brother! Why did you come back so late tonight?" Suddenly, he tiptoed up again and leaned over to Chu Tian's ear, muttering, "Tell me quickly, did you send any girl home?" Upon hearing this, Chu Tian was shocked. How could this girl guess so accurately? Mengyao invited herself to take her home, but she refused because of the monkey. Is this the sixth sense of women? Chu Tian felt a wave of fear in his heart, afraid that one day he might have done something wrong. He quickly took Chu Xiaoxiao to the other side and gave him a brainwave before scolding him. "Alright, I've known how to speak recklessly since I was young. If we have another chance, be careful not to hit your butt. Well, I'm just 1 year younger than you. Besides, you haven't spanked me in a long time." Chu Xiaoxiao covered the area that had been bounced by Chu Tian with both hands, and her words became smaller and smaller as she spoke, but Chu Tian still heard her and her face was covered in black lines. "Tisk, be careful. Hey, my parents are still cooking in the kitchen." What brother means is, as long as parents are not around, it's okay. Chu Xiaoxiao raised her head and looked at Chu Tian with a mischievous smile on her face. She was so scared that Chu Tian quickly ended the topic, afraid that this girl might miss something. "Xiao Tian, Xiao, hurry up and wash your hands. It's time to eat." Upon hearing his mother's voice coming from the kitchen, Chu Tian took his old sister to wash her paws. At the dinner table, a family of 4 were in perfect harmony, talking with laughter and voices about tomorrow's awakening ceremony. Even if it is a new family pieced together by the original 2 families, it is completely invisible in the family atmosphere, and even more harmonious than a normal family. Oh my goodness, when you wake up tomorrow, don't hold any pressure. Even if you don't have any abilities, it's okay. If it's okay, I can go screw it with your dad. Chu Tian joked about his son. That's it. Even if my brother doesn't have any abilities, I won't despise you, Chu Xiaoxiao said as she squeezed a piece of meat into Chu Tian's bowl. Chu Tian's mother Jiang Wanru naturally maintains the same views as Chu Jiang. The family ended their dinner so happily, but I don't know how long this kind of day can last. The next morning, Chu Tian rushed to Zijing No. 1 Middle School. Today is the awakening day for countless students. If the awakening is good, it will inevitably lead to great success. If not, then it's better to screw it up. At 8:30 in the morning, the sun had completely risen, bright yet without scorching sunlight. The entire 3rd grade of high school students gathered on the playground, quietly listening to the principal's speech on stage. After picking up a lot of what was missing, the awakening ceremony officially began. The teacher on stage holds the blue awakening stone and provides awakening guidance to the students who have called their names one by one. Due to Chu Tian's class being class 17, which is in the middle, he naturally has to wait for some time. Fortunately, unlike Earth in its past life, which had to stand and listen to the principal's meeting, it was possible to move a chair and sit there. Chu Tian, look, another classmate has successfully awakened, although their ability level is not very high. School flower Mengyao naturally sat next to Chu Tian, holding his hand and pointing to the student on stage who had just awakened successfully. Such blatant actions have caused countless single dogs around to shed tears. Chu Tian shook his head and said, "Not bad, at least it's A/B level, not the lowest C level is already good." What? Do you still want to awaken to the highest SS level? Looking at Mengyao, Chu Tian couldn't help but joke. That's not true. Actually, for me, it would be great if I could awaken to Anne's level. At least we can't let our parents down. Mengyao answered the question very seriously, but in the latter half of the sentence, her eyes began to dim again. Don't put too much pressure on yourself. Your parents have one S level and one A level, and the children they give birth to are likely to be A level or B level, even if they are S level, the probability is much higher than the average person. Seeing this scene, Chu Tian didn't say much either. He just tightened his grip on Menyao's hand. Next, Mengyao. Mengyao, who was pronounced famous, immediately stood up. As she walked forward, she remembered holding hands with Chu Tian. The scene was once awkward. Menyao's pretty face turned slightly red in an instant, and she quickly released her small hand that was still tightly held together, while making a funny face for Chu Tian behind her. Omitted. Chapter 3. First example of SSS level abilities. 6 eyes. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Chu Tian paid no attention to this. I can't even understand why those guys get angry. Even if Mengyao doesn't end up in his hands, it's not related to those losers, right? Why be angry about someone else's wife? When Chu Tian lifted his head again, Mengyao had already stood next to the awakening stone. After all, she was the daughter of the Yu family, and the guidance teacher was also very patient, afraid of missing any details. And the students under the platform almost all turned their gaze to the stunning woman on the platform, not considered seductive, but a youthful and elegant beauty. Chu Tian knew that as soon as Mengyao stepped on stage, she would definitely be the focus of the entire audience. Look, the flower of Yu University has put her hand over. A student called out, which further stirred up the emotions of the whole audience. Under the gaze of all the teachers and students in the school, that awakening stone erupted from its original dim moment into a dazzling white light. Classroom in Grade 1 and Grade 2, this is an S.level ability. Endless Frost. The instructor pushed his glasses and shouted in a trembling voice. You should know that in today's Great Xia Kingdom, there are still SS-level superpowers that add up to less than 2 hands. Therefore, S.level abilities are almost the top that ordinary people can reach, and the entire Great Xia Kingdom only has about 10 each year. There are 10 every year, not just 10, I'm lying down. I'm truly the daughter of the Yu family, genes are good. I don't even have any abilities, so I guess I'll have to go screw it in the future. You are truly my goddess, and you did not disappoint my expectations. People are more popular than people. They put their hands on it so brightly, but I don't even have a fart when I put my hands on it. I'm really impressed, it's all my parents' fault for being too lazy, otherwise I wouldn't have lost my abilities. Chu Tian automatically blocked the nonsense spoken by other students and stared blankly at Mengyao, who looked like a celebrity. She now has S.level abilities, will we still be the same person in the future? Chu Tian, who should have been happy for Mengyao, now has an indescribable feeling. After all, a 6-year relationship with a desk mate is not just hype, even if it's not yet a romantic relationship, it definitely goes beyond friendship. Next, Chu Tian. The instructor pushed his glasses again, easing his previous excitement and returning to the normal awakening ceremony. Upon hearing that it was time for him to awaken his powers, Chu Tian calmed his mind and walked towards the platform. Chu Tian stepped onto the stage, Mengyao stepped down, and the two of them just passed each other by. However, Mengyao seemed to be still immersed in the excitement of S.level abilities and did not notice the fleeting Chu Tian. When Mengyao sat down and wanted to share her joy with Chu Tian beside her, she found that Chu Tian had already stood on the podium. This student, first let go of any emotions in your heart, and then place your hand on the awakening stone. The instructor repeats the tutorial as usual. Chu Tian took a deep breath, extended his 5 fingers, and pressed them onto the awakening stone. Come on. Whether to become the world's strongest or enter the factory, it all depends on this moment. The next second, the awakening stone, slightly larger than a human head, burst into the most dazzling light in the world in an instant. Its brilliance even comes with built-in sound effects. Everyone who witnessed it was amazed with wide eyes. But Chu Tian's intention gradually blurred. In Chu Tian's perception, it seemed like a long time had passed, and a sentence kept echoing in his mind, do you want to become the strongest in the world? Of course. After Chu Tian finished shouting this sentence, his consciousness instantly came out of his mind. When he opened his eyes again, he suddenly felt that the whole world seemed to be at a standstill. Putting oneself at the center, everything can be seen in full view. The birds flying in the sky, Mengyao sitting under the podium, and the guiding teacher next to her are all clear to Chu Tian. He has never been so transparent before. As his pupils turned deep blue, Chu Tian finally realized and couldn't help but murmur, isn't this the 6th eye? No. Not just 6 eyes, but also unlimited techniques. At this moment, Chu Tian suddenly mastered the 6 eyes and boundless technique in his mind. There are no signs. I just don't know why, but currently only the power of stop and attract can be used for unlimited spells, that is, unlimited and spell forward tsang. If you want to develop the power of rejection, perhaps you can only use it after learning the reversal technique. Just as Chu Tian was still indulging in his inner joy, the light of his awakening had already returned to its original state, and the people around him also reacted. SS level ability. 6 eyes. As the mentor, Lu Jia was the first to come to his senses and quickly reported Chu Tian's ability. It's just that the punctuation is a bit clever, making it difficult to distinguish between SS level and SSS level. Teacher Lu, what level of ability does Chu Tian's 6 eyes belong to? On the seat below, the principal stood up and couldn't help but ask questions. Even the principal, who is a knowledgeable and talented individual, cannot come up with a rough idea in the face of such a situation, and can only rely on professionals to answer. Lu Jia pushed her glasses again, and a slight cold sweat had already appeared on her forehead, indicating that she didn't have much experience with the situation just now. Principal Zhang, it's hard to say the level of Chu Tian's abilities. The light emitted by the awakening stone far exceeds the previously recorded SS level abilities, but it has been 80 years since the Great Silence, and no one has ever awakened an SSS level ability. So I speculate that Chu Tian is the first person in this world to awaken an SSS level ability. Upon hearing Lu Jia's answer, everyone took a deep breath, including Chu Tian himself. Grandma, drop. After enduring humiliation for 18 years, now I finally have a cheat on me, which is the 6 eyes and boundless technique that I knew in my past life. In this world, there is no space to slay the Suanoa, nor is there a spell to forcibly release spells. It is hard to say whether there are attacks with a hit effect, but even if there are, they are very rare. With the absolute inviolability of the unlimited technique, shouldn't we just walk horizontally? Chu Tian dared to say this for a reason, even though using unlimited spells requires spell power. But during the awakening of his abilities, Chu Tian gained some information for no reason and also knew some causal factors that had been changed. For example, in this world, only Chu Tian can assimilate spiritual power into curse power for use. And with the limitless technique of Chu Tian, coupled with 6 eyes, it is comparable to absolute defense. But just as this thought arose, another message rushed out of Chu Tian's mind for no reason. No lower limit is not as inviolable as before, but will interrupt when encountering attacks far beyond the current strength. Nowadays, we can only maintain absolute defense across first levels. For example, when facing attacks within second-level subordinates, we can defend ourselves, but attacks beyond first level can only have a weakening effect. Chu Tian's newly rising thoughts instantly cooled down. Although the unlimited technique has been greatly weakened, Chu Tian is not really feeling too uncomfortable. After all, even if it is an absolute defense that crosses one level, it can still be considered a shocking defense in this world. He, Chu Tian, still wants to become the strongest. Chapter 4. Conversation with the Principal, Free School Flower. You are listening at novelfull.audio. SSS ability. How could it be possible? Now that Chu Tian has an SSS level ability, what should I do with the battle book I gave him before? Shouldn't he come to seek revenge on me? Chu Dada, I won't say you're not good enough for you Mengyao anymore. Your adult has a large number, so let's just fart my previous war books. As Lu Jia finished explaining Chu Tian's ability level, the students had completely exploded. This is the first SSS ability in human history, how could they not boil? Chu Tian, come with me to the office. I have some things to talk to you about. The principal is truly the principal, and at this moment, he maintained his rationality. With a big wave of his hand, he issued an order to his advisor Lu Jia. The awakening ceremony continues. After Principal Zhang finished speaking, a green whirlwind kept emerging under his feet, and a drift arrived in front of Chu Tian. After holding Chu Tian up with his waist, he flew towards the teaching building, ignoring the sound of chickens crowing from below. And Mengyao looked at Chu Tian, who had been taken away by Principal Zhang, with a slight smile on her lips and waves of tenderness flashing in her eyes. Great. So I can be with you now. Mengyao couldn't help but speak her heart, but her voice was like the sound of mosquitoes, and no one else heard her. A moment later, Chu Tian had already been taken to his private office by Principal Zhang. Sit down and chat, Chu Tian, don't be so reserved. Principal Zhang sat on his office chair and pointed to the opposite chair, saying. Chu Tian didn't hesitate and sat down directly, chatting face-to-face with the principal who was already in his 40s. The Yangtze River is pushing waves one by one, each wave is stronger than the other. Principal Zhang sighed, clasped his hands together, and slowly said. My ability is an A-level wind control skill. When I was young, I didn't cultivate it well. I started working hard in my 20s, and after 30 years of cultivation, I only became a 6th level ability. Practicing this thing depends too much on talent. The level of special abilities determines the upper limit of talent and also affects the speed of cultivation. There are not many 9th level superpowers in the world today, and using them is not an exaggeration. I can assure you that your SSS level abilities are definitely unique in this world. The world is not as simple as the media reports. The seemingly peaceful world is actually in crisis. Principal Zhang finished speaking as if he remembered something bad. He picked up a nearby teacup and took a small sip. Do you mean, don't you want me to waste my psychic talent? Chu Tian is not a fool. Principal Zhang's meaning has already been expressed very clearly. Not only does it indirectly indicate how enviable his ability level is, but it also reveals the surging tide of the world from the front. Although it was not explicitly stated, Chu Tian had already guessed that it was probably related to the powerful exotic beasts hidden around the world. It is estimated that a peaceful world will soon face another baptism. It's not waste, as long as you can treat it well, that's enough. With your level of superpowers, the college entrance examination is just a formality. It's estimated that both major superpower schools will have to beg you to come. The principal laughed heartily. Perhaps this is what future generations fear. Your ability level is expected to spread throughout the country in no time. As your ability is a brand new ability, there is no record of it in the Power Players Association. When you go to authenticate a superpower, there will definitely be someone specifically looking for you to ask. Remember to keep one hand at that time, don't give up all your abilities, so as not to make unnecessary mistakes. Chu Tian nodded to express his understanding. In fact, without the need for the principal to say anything, Chu Tian would also spare a hand. However, he didn't expect that the principal would come specifically to find him. This has surprised Chu Tian a bit. After chatting with the principal for a while, Chu Tian finally figured out the door to his private office. I have been attending this school for 3 years, and it's my first time entering. Chu Tian had just left the office and didn't take a few steps when he was hugged by a beautiful figure from behind. Chu Tian, who had 6 eyes, could naturally see Mengyao behind him, but he did not stop her. He's not a eunuch, how could a beautiful woman refuse to embrace her? Chu Tian, congratulations. Feeling the 2 soft strokes coming from his back, Chu Tian turned back slightly unnaturally. Miss you, can you pay attention? This bunch of classmates are watching. Although Chu Tian was very willing to keep Mengyao holding her like this, he still wanted to pretend to be a gentleman. If you get a bargain and still sell well, you're talking about Chu Tian. Humph. They think whatever they like, they're all about to graduate anyway. Mengyao was still holding on to Chu Tian tightly, but after saying these words, it seemed like something had come to her mind. Her arms, which were originally tightly held, suddenly relaxed. Graduation. Seeing Menyao's dejected expression, Chu Tian touched his forehead with his hand and said angrily, "Are you stupid? What's wrong with graduation?" Mengyao raised her head, her eyes a bit bewildered, while Chu Tian continued to speak. Just the 2 of us have this level of superpowers. Which university in the country is not vying for it? Just put it together in college. After Chu Tian finished speaking, he clicked and fully demonstrated the mockery of Menyao's intelligence. Ali, why didn't I think? Menyao's brain finally turned around, recalling her previous actions and feeling embarrassed to continue holding Chu Tian. Releasing her wrapped arms, Mengyao deliberately coughed twice to ease her embarrassment. Cough, what's that? The college entrance examination is only 7 days away, what are you planning to do? The topic suddenly became serious, and Chu Tian spoke out his plan. I'm going to authenticate the warriors and supernatural beings first, so that I can easily go to the wilderness area. Wasteland is a territory abandoned by human society. Some wasteland was originally uninhabited, while others were originally high-rise buildings. Nowadays, the wasteland is a paradise for exotic beasts, and ordinary people cannot live in it. Even martial artists or supernatural beings dare not stay for long. Martial arts and supernatural beings. Chu Tian, are you practicing martial arts in the same way? No, that's not the point. What are you doing in the abandoned area? Mengyao couldn't help but feel surprised. Going to the wilderness area is for practical use of abilities, so you can familiarize yourself with them in advance. After all, the college entrance examination is conducted in a specific wasteland area, where the exotic beasts are not much better than those in low-risk wasteland areas. Chu Tian did not explain the first question, which can be considered as default. Okay, then be sure to pay attention to safety. Mengyao couldn't say much more when she saw Chu Tian's reasons for going to the wasteland were so sufficient. Just pulling the hand of Chu Tian, he asked, the awakened students are now free to move around, and I am also preparing to authenticate the superpower. Do you want to come together? Of course, Miss, you personally invited me. How could I refuse? Chu Tian did not let go of Mengyao's hand, but replied with a spoiled attitude. Anyway, going to certification alone can be a bit boring, and having someone else to accompany it would be great. Let's go after dinner. I used to sit on the playground for over 2 hours, but when I arrived at the principal's office, I sat for another half hour and my butt was tired. Chu Tian lowered his head and shook it. What are you waiting for? I know there's a restaurant with a great taste, hurry up and keep up. Chapter 5. Proof of Empowerment. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After eating and drinking, the two walked side by side on the street. To obtain a proof of being a psychic, one needs to go to the Psychic Association for certification, which has a base in every city and is a global organization. Coincidentally, the Psychic Association stationed in Zijing City was not far from the two of them, so they decided to walk over. Chu Tian, I haven't asked about your abilities yet. Would it be convenient to overdraw a little? On the way, Mengyao suddenly remembered that she didn't know what Chu Tian's ability was for, and then asked. I'm afraid I'll scare you to death if I say it out loud. Chu Tian joked. Alright, don't be too presumptuous, Mengyao snorted, deliberately bulging her cheeks. Seeing this, Chu Tian had no choice but to reveal everything and said, my ability is called 6 eyes, but it doesn't mean I have 6 eyes. Look at it. As Chu Tian spoke, he widened his eyes and leaned towards Mengyao. The deep blue pupils of the sky instantly caught Mengyao's attention and couldn't help but speak. I'll go, how did your eyes turn blue? Just letting Mengyao take a glance, Chu Tian turned around and said, the pupils of the sky are 6 eyes. It can provide a 360-degree perspective without blind spots, enhancing insight while also enhancing control over spiritual power. You can understand it as reducing mana consumption. Chu Tian made some modifications to the ability of 6 eyes, as it can also strengthen control over spiritual power due to the assimilation of spells. Curse refers to both curse power and spiritual power, not that curse spirit. Although you cannot see through the opponent's abilities, you can see the flow of spiritual power in your body, but its effect is not significant. Isn't it tiring to have such a big perspective? Upon hearing Chu Tian say that she had a 360-degree view, Mengyao still couldn't believe it. Isn't that because she had known about the previous surprise attack on Chu Tian? But what makes Mengyao even more curious is that having a wide range of vision can also burden a person's brain to a certain extent, right? I'm really tired, the information I receive is a bit brain-burning. I'll be busy and ready to buy sunglasses to wear later. Chu Tian's tone was very relaxed, with the aim of making others look as tired as possible. Mengyao continued to ask, as she didn't understand Six Eyes and didn't say much. Six Eyes is at least the strongest ability in the world. It's impossible for them to be gone except for this, right? Mengyao was only half right. Six Eyes indeed only had this function, but Chu Tian still mastered the unlimited technique. Although the two cannot be confused, Chu Tian is not prepared to explain clearly and make others think that it is all due to the function of the Six Eyes. Indeed, there are other attack methods. I'll show you what to do when I arrive at the Psychic Association. Okay. Not long after, the two arrived at the Psychic Association stationed in this city. Overall, it looks like a building, with the 5 big characters, the Association of Mighty Ones, hanging vertically on it, which is quite tall and atmospheric. As soon as the two of them entered the door, the staff inside hurriedly came out as if they had anticipated. The two of you are Chu Tian and miss you, it's like a grand visit. Just call me Xiaojiu. Oh. Do you know me? Chu Tian was a bit puzzled by Xiaojiu's reaction. According to the routine, shouldn't the protagonist be looked down upon? In the end, should the protagonist pretend to be forced to face each other? Of course, you are now the only SSS-level superpower in the world, and your name was reported by the media in the morning. Xiaojiu replied. Our branch president anticipated that both of them would come to process the proof of the superpower, so he sent me to wait here. Chu Tian patted Mengyao and said, I see, she and I are indeed here to authenticate the psychic. Since that's the case, both of you can come with me. Xiaojiu. Seeing this, Chu Tian and his companions didn't say much nonsense and followed suit. Xiaojiu brought Chu Tian and Mengyao to the testing area on the 3rd floor. Several crystal stones were placed at the edge of the main hall on the 3rd floor, each with a small screen next to it. Chu Tian is familiar with this thing, which is used to test the spiritual power reserves in the body, which is a tool for testing levels. It can also be used by putting your hand away, and the screen next to it is used to display numerical values. People who come to authenticate psychics will test it, but fortunately, the psychic certificate is marked with a level, making it easier to receive corresponding benefits. Both of you, please test it. Xiaojiu respected every word and phrase. Most people are first-level subordinates when they first awaken their abilities, but the higher the level of the ability, the more likely the initial level is to increase. Chu Tian's SSS level abilities don't need to be guessed, but one can expect them to be higher than the average level, just like Mengyao. Why don't you come first? I have a good idea in my mind. Chu Tian said to Mengyao. This small matter, Mengyao naturally wouldn't refuse. After preparing, she placed her hand on the crystal stone. Suddenly, a glimmer of light slowly rose up inside the crystal stone. S.level ability Endless Frost, currently level 1 intermediate. Xiaojiu, who was nearby, collected the data and read out the test results. Upon hearing the S.level ability, Mengyao's level was not too high, and Chu Tian was slightly shocked. I thought I had to be a first-level superior anyway, but it seems that the initial level is still very talented. After Mengyao finished the test, she gave up her position and left it to Chu Tian. Ha! Chu Tian took a deep breath, and when he was ready, he put his hand on it, pondering what level it would be. This time, the interior of the crystal stone is clearly brighter than when Mengyao put it away. SSS level ability with 6 eyes, currently level. Second only to second-level subordinates. The initial level is the highest in history. Xiaojiu helped down his glasses, even though he was mentally prepared, he was still a bit shocked when he said it. Please wait a moment, both of you. I'll come over soon. After Xiaojiu said a word, he walked towards another room. When he returned, he had already brought something in his hand. Chu Tian looked through 6 eyes and immediately saw the badge in Xiaojiu's hand. The badge was the size of 2 thumbs, but for some reason, the overall color was a bit dim. These two badges are technology tools specially manufactured by the Association of Mighty Ones. As long as the user injects a trace of spiritual energy, information about the ability will be recorded. As long as outsiders inject spiritual energy, they can view the information recorded in this badge. Xiao Jiu handed over two badges respectively, and Chu Tian and Mengyao exchanged a glance, injecting spiritual energy into each other. With the injection of spiritual energy, the two badges also have patterns and colors, which are their abilities. In the future, the two will be certified as psychics by the Association of Mighty Ones. Regularly visit the powerful association to test levels, and the information inside the badge will also be refreshed. Xiao Jiu finished speaking respectfully and suddenly changed his tone, saying to Chu Tian, "Mr. Chu Tian, as your ability is a brand new ability, it should have been recorded by the Ability Association as a talent skill for this ability. But right now, I'm afraid we don't need it anymore." Why? Chu Tian and Mengyao asked in unison. You two must understand that the Association of Mighty Ones is an organization jointly established by the world's four major powers. Countries do not want each other to be stronger than themselves, and there is a bit of selfishness on the part of Daxia Kingdom. The more Xiao Jiu spoke, the weaker his tone became, as if he was going on to speak endlessly. All recorded abilities have related innate skills, but in this way, enemies will also know their own abilities. In order to protect your personal safety, the Great Xia Kingdom has dismissed the ability to record your abilities, 6 eyes. When Chu Tian spoke, his heart warmed. Even in a parallel world, the Great Xia Kingdom was still the same China, the government that could always reassure the people. Chapter 6. The first appearance of the boundless technique, shocked by Mengyao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Since that's the case, I have also obtained the proof of the superpower. If there's nothing else, you can go back. I have something else to do with Mengyao, we still need to stay for now. Chu Tian spoke slowly, his limitless technique had not yet been demonstrated. Fortunately, every psychic association has a standard testing room, available on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors. Inside are nothing more than machines used to withstand damage, used to measure your attack level. Okay, Mr. Chu Tian. Xiao Jiu saw that his task had been completed and left. Let's go, miss you, let you see my strength. Chu Tian greeted Mengyao and arrived at the black testing room. When she arrived here, Mengyao couldn't help but speak up, I said can you always show me your other abilities now? Of course. Chu Tian raised his mouth slightly and said, of course. While speaking, Chu Tian's eyes also became brighter, as if a sound effect was ringing around him. And this is an unlimited skill, but Chu Tian has not yet mastered the reversal technique. This skill is still an active skill for the time being, not a passive one. Try touching me now. Chu Tian extended his palm and his face was full of teasing. Although Mengyao didn't understand why Chu Tian suddenly said so, she still reached out her hand. Just 10 centimeters away from Chu Tian's palm, Mengyao was surprised to find that her hand could not move any further. Even with all the strength to feed, one can only step in place, or move forward at an incredibly slow speed, which can be ignored. What's the situation here? Mengyao felt an invisible barrier between the two, blocking their personalities and couldn't help but ask. This is the technique with no lower limit carried by 6 eyes. What you just touched is no lower limit. Simply put, as long as I turn on no lower limit, any object approaching me will only slow down until it can never touch me. Chu Tian had a proud and arrogant expression on his face. Too strong, are your abilities primarily focused on detection and defense? Mengyao withdrew her hand, with a hint of shock on her face, and then asked. How could the world's strongest abilities be limited to this point? Let's see. With a big wave of his hand, Chu Tian arrived at the end of this room and saw a machine called a combat tester. Used to test the strength of the attack, and finally converted into numerical values for display. However, attacks beyond the 5th level cannot withstand it and will be directly smashed. Chu Tian faced the machine and unfolded his right hand upwards. When he exerted force and hit it, he also used Tsang to pull the machine, with the aim of causing 2 strikes at the same time. This was also stolen from Wutiao. Bang! A loud thud sounded, and then a set of numbers slowly lit up on the screen next to the machine. 799, Chu Tian, you can do it. The strongest hit value of a first-order superior superpower is only 600. You're heading straight for 800. Mengyao, who was watching from the sidelines, was shocked again. Unexpectedly, not only was her defense ability outrageous, but her attack was also top-notch. Faced with this result, Chu Tian just felt disdainful. He was already a first-order superior warrior and had secretly tested it before. He only got 400 punches, but now when paired with Tsang, it only doubled. Of course, the threshold for a warrior is different from that of a superpower, and the highest value for a first-order superior warrior is generally 450. Faced with Mengyao's astonishment, Chu Tian did not respond, which was once again demonstrated through action. This time, Chu Tian also used his energy to wield his fist while pairing it with Tsang, but he assimilated his spiritual power into curse power to strengthen himself and concentrated it on his fist. The dark blue curse power constantly appeared on the sandbag-sized fist, and negative emotions surged towards Chu Tian's heart. Bang! With one punch, the impact this time was significantly greater than before, and the machine slowly released its numerical value. 1500, with the blessing of curse power, the power of this punch has doubled directly. Mengyao, who was watching from the sidelines, was so shocked that she couldn't speak, stuttering and unsure of what she wanted to say. The value of 1500 is already comparable to the full power strike of a second-level intermediate superpower. You should know, Chu Tian is only a first-level superior. How's it going? Shocked and speechless, Chu Tian turned his head and began to strike back at Mengyao. Anyway, their relationship was as close as a buddy, and it was common for them to argue on a daily basis. I'm convinced, your ability is too strong. Mengyao remained silent for a long time before suppressing this sentence. What is this? I haven't really taken it seriously yet. After finishing speaking, Chu Tian came back to the machine, stretched out his 5 fingers, aimed at the machine, and slowly spoke. Technique clockwise, maximum power. The pale blue sphere slowly unfolds in the center of the palm and gradually begins to grow larger. Tsang. After Chu Tian finished shouting, the highest power, Tsang, rushed towards the machine. In just an instant, Chu Tian and his companions felt a huge suction, as if they were about to tear everything apart. Fortunately, after Chu Tian finished releasing, he immediately came to Mengyao's side and blocked the suction force with no lower limit. The suction attack has not yet reached the second-level upper level, and there is no lower limit to block it. At the moment when the huge pale blue sphere touched the machinery, a loud explosion sounded. Fortunately, this machine is hard enough, otherwise it would have been gone a long time ago. When the attack disappeared, Chu Tian and Mengyao both looked towards the area where the values were displayed. Not only is Mengyao curious, but Chu Tian also wants to know how far he can reach with his strongest strike today. 2300, Chu Tian took a cold breath upon seeing it, while Mengyao's pupils dilated and she fell into a state of dullness. The value of 2300 has exceeded the second-order superior's 2200. That is to say, Chu Tian, with his current level as a first-level superior, can still defeat the second-level superior's abilities. Spanning an entire level of strength. No one has ever been safe before, no one will come after. Chu Tian. Mengyao is working hard to organize language. I won't provoke you anymore, take me with you. Mengyao threw herself into Chu Tian's arms, tightly embracing his waist. Mengyao doesn't usually find many opportunities to openly throw herself into Chu Tian's arms. From Menyao's perspective, she deliberately took this opportunity to embrace Chu Tian. Faced with this scene, Chu Tian could only suffer and enjoy it, without any intention of pushing it away. As evening approached, Chu Tian and Mengyao finally walked out of the door of the mighty association. After Chu Tian finished testing, Mengyao followed suit and launched attacks that were no different from normal S.level abilities. After all, it is an S.level ability, with the strongest strike reaching over 900, exceeding the average is normal. Even lower, after all, the control of her Endless Frost main attack will only be revealed when the attack reaches the later level. Chapter 7. Old Sister's Night Attack. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After bidding farewell to Mengyao, Chu Tian prepared to buy sunglasses first. Six Eyes received too much information, and after that day, Chu Tian only felt brain fatigue. If you don't buy sunglasses again to relieve your brain, Chu Tian really can't take it anymore. After arriving at the glasses store and explaining his needs to the boss, Chu Tian went to the mirror to try on sunglasses. As Chu Tian was constantly changing his sunglasses, a report suddenly appeared on the electronic screen of an eyeglass shop. Recently, a large number of prisoners have defected from heavy prisons in southern Guangdong province. Please try not to go out at night and pay attention to safety. Through his 6 eyes, Chu Tian could see clearly, and his doubts also rose in his heart. In the heavy prisons of southern Guangdong province, the prisoners are all supernatural and martial artists, and the prison guards are the same. However, the worst prison guards among them are also of 2 ranks. How could they successfully defect? However, Chu Tian didn't think much about it. These heavy prisons are usually arranged in nearby wasteland areas, which are quite far from densely populated cities. It's not easy to come to Zijing City, so there's not too much anxiety. After selecting a favorite pair of sunglasses, Chu Tian put them on and left the glasses store. After testing with Mengyao for a long time in the afternoon, coupled with the burning brain of 6 eyes, Chu Tian now only wants to go home. After all, there is an old sister at home, and in terms of appearance and qualifications, she is not much inferior to Mengyao. The only downside is that it has a bit of a female little ghost attribute. I secretly opened the door, thinking that Chu Xiaoxiao had not welcomed me this time. However, as soon as I entered, a figure rushed over from the side. Hee, brother, you're too cunning. You've awakened SSS level abilities. Li, when you become successful in the future, don't forget me, who is my younger sister. Chu Xiaoxiao hugged Chu Tian like a sloth and hung it on his back, his tone gradually becoming playful from the initial surprise. Just before lying down for a long time, Chu Tian grabbed him down. Okay, it's not your awakened ability. So why are you so excited? Chu Tian said, speechless. Hee, Brother G's is mine, of course I will be as happy as Brother G, brother. Although Chu Xiaoxiao was caught by Chu Tian, she leaned back into Chu Tian's arms and looked up at him with a bright smile on her face. Chu Tian's face flashed several black lines again. You got it, don't ask this anymore. Why didn't you see Dad? Cha Dian, Chu Xiaoxiao placed her index finger on her chin, opened her small mouth slightly, and her gaze moved up. Then she suddenly smiled and said. Humph, Dad, Mom, and Mom have to go out of town today. They probably have to wait until you come back after your college entrance exam. So, now there's only the 2 of us left at home. Brother G. Chu Tian was directly shocked. How could he not have noticed before that Chu Xiaoxiao had even set the attributes of Brother H and Bijiao together? Control, disease, with a chill in his back, he quickly found an excuse to cook, fearing that Chu Xiaoxiao would stop pretending the next second and just show off. At dinner, Chu Xiaoxiao on the table was not very honest. She would occasionally approach Chu Tian and casually find some reason to hug him. How can Chu Tian bear it? Chu Xiaoxiao is still 1 year away, he can't be a student, can he? But the slightly developed rabbit, after constant friction, made Chu Tian restless. Finally, I couldn't bear it anymore and didn't even finish dinner, so I ran back to my own room. Although the door was tightly closed, it was not locked due to the last bit of trust in Chu Xiaoxiao. Ha! After returning to the room, Chu Tian took a deep breath. It was too scary. Although Chu Tian enjoyed this kind of process in his past life, it was really difficult to collapse when it happened to him. Although there is no common bloodline between the two and the family is also reorganized, it's really a bit difficult to take action. Of course, for men, not going to show off is only based on morality. If we talk about the body, hand, are you using this to test cadres? Lying in bed, Chu Tian shook his head wildly and quickly suppressed the evil thoughts in his mind. In 20 minutes. Amitabha Buddha, Chu Tian himself spoke with a bell, and at this moment, he was as holy as a sage, constantly criticizing his previous self. There's no way, just put on your pants and speak in a strange way. After a few minutes of rest, Chu Tian prepared to practice. The so-called cultivation is the 5-heart upward method, which uses the spiritual consciousness in the mind to feel the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. After sitting in meditation, Chu Tian closed his eyes and looked up slightly. This cultivation method can only be achieved by supernatural beings, while martial artists can only absorb spiritual energy in specialized spiritual gathering arrays. To be honest, this is Chu Tian's first attempt at the 5 hearts upward method. With the blessing of 6 eyes, Chu Tian entered his state in less than 2 minutes for the first time. Self-consciousness precipitates, spiritual consciousness surrounds the surroundings, and the spiritual energy hidden in the air slowly reveals itself. The next step is to incorporate these spiritual energies into the dantian. In the future, the body will automatically transform into spiritual power. Chu Tian was very focused on his cultivation this time, until he fell asleep without any reaction. In the middle of the night, a small figure secretly pushed open the door opened by Chu and gently closed it. The next morning, when Chu Tian opened his eyes, he was still a bit sleepy. Perhaps it was because he practiced too late that he didn't get enough sleep. But it's okay, subconsciously Chu Tian knows that not only is it on vacation today, but also his parents are not at home. Sleep as long as you want. So he flipped over and continued to sleep. In his sleep, Chu Tian seemed to have a dream, dreaming that he had returned to his original world and was now in his own bed. Looking at the same body as Rem's pillow by the pillow, Chu Tian's long dormant DNA came back to life. As it was in his dream, Chu Tian did not remember the blue star and, driven by his subconscious, hugged the pillow tightly. Slowly, this soft feeling became clearer and clearer until Chu Tian woke up. Slowly open your eyes, where else is the Rem pillow? The one underneath is clearly Chu Xiaoxiao. At this moment, her cheeks were as red as a cherry, with a look of being ravaged by others. The light purple cat head pajamas, with their neckline pulled extremely low at this moment, revealed a beautiful scenery in Chu Tian's eyes. The scene was once awkward until Chu Xiaoxiao spoke up first, "Brother. Why don't you continue to hug?" Chu Xiaoxiao placed a finger on the edge of her mouth, and some fragrant saliva slowly flowed out of the corner of her mouth. Chu Tian shouted in his heart that he was not doing well. He quickly pulled up his pajamas to avoid revealing anything more explosive. At the same time, he shook his hand and quickly explained. "Smile. Listen to my explanation, things are definitely not what you think." Regarding this, Chu Xiaoxiao only smiled on her face, while her eyes lit up with love. "Brother, didn't you feel very relaxed just now?" Chu Tian didn't know for a moment whether to refute or admit. Chu Xiaoxiao spoke again, "No need to say, after all, I sneaked in the middle of the night. It's just that, Brother G, you don't want BBMM to know about this, do you? The investigation is extremely strict, annoying." Chapter 8. Going to the wilderness area. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Half an hour later, Chu Tian went out. He never expected that his sister would be so ruthless. Surprisingly threaten him with his parents. There's no way, although it was Chu Xiaoxiao who sneaked into his bed in the middle of the night, anyway, it was himself who did that to Chu Xiaoxiao. This mute lotus, Chu Tian only hopes to rot in their stomachs. In the end, there was no other choice but to agree to Chu Xiaoxiao's terms. Threatened him that in the future, whenever his parents are not around, they must share the same bed and sleep together, just like before. Although Chu Tian had eaten a lot of tofu, the thought of eating his own sister's tofu left him speechless. Pain, it hurts too much. Painful and joyful. After breakfast, Chu Tian began to go to the barren area near Zijing City. As it was near the city, it was far from the real barren area. Most of them are first-order exotic beasts, with second-order only accounting for about 5%, while the probability of third-order is even lower, almost negligible. Taking the underground high-speed railway, Chu Tian quickly arrived at the edge of the wasteland. On the edge of the wasteland, many merchants have smelled business opportunities, whether they are opening hotels, selling weapons or combat uniforms. It can be said that there is everything, including some adventure teams recruiting personnel. After all, humans are social creatures, let alone entering dangerous wilderness areas. It is much safer to huddle together for warmth than to fight alone. But Chu Tian is not a normal person. The adventure team or something is optional for him, and it may even drag him down. Ignoring the recruitment signs on the roadside, Chu Tian went straight to a stall for recycling exotic beasts. Although most exotic beasts have no utility value for humans, there are still some that can be used for medicine or made into special weapons and armor. Chu Tian came here just to ask which items are more expensive so that he can earn some extra income. Boss, what are the higher prices for recycling? Chu Tian asked. And the boss, seeing that Chu Tian was only 18 or 19, his face was instantly filled with disdain. It seemed that he didn't pay much attention to the news and didn't know what kind of existence Chu Tian was standing in front of him. TSK, a furry kid has come to fight monsters. Hurry up and go home and find your mother. This is not the place you should come to. The boss issued an order to expel customers to Chu Tian, but it was obvious that he did not see customers of his age. Chu Tian was not angry about this. At his age, he shouldn't have appeared alone in such a dangerous place in the wilderness. Although the boss's words were a bit poisonous, there was still a hint of concern outside of his words. Boss, you just need to tell me which item has a high price. Maybe I can really bring it to you. Chu Tian smiled kindly and took out a badge from his pocket. It is the proof of the psychic certified yesterday. The boss seems to have realized something, but the problem is that he is not a superpower or warrior, and he can't even activate spiritual energy and check it. However, since being able to take out a badge can prove that one is not an ordinary person, after all, each person can only have one of these, and they usually do not lend it out. The boss returned the badge to Chu Tian and slowly said, all right, I'll tell you, can't I still do it? The two items that I can offer the highest price for are Red Tiger's Fawn Claws and Magic Crystal Bear's Bear Paw Bear Bile. These two prices are high. If there's nothing else, you can leave. I still have to do business. The boss impatiently finished speaking and issued another order to expel customers. Seeing this, Chu Tian did not stay for a long time and used Tsang to compress the coordinates, quickly moving away. Anyway, there are 6 eyes that are not afraid of blue depletion, so I worked hard to create it. Ha! Why is this kid missing? The boss rubbed his eyes and looked confused. Chu Tian, on the other hand, arrived at the official entrance of the barren area through Tsang because other places were sealed off. Above layer after layer of wire mesh, infrared sensing devices are installed to alert anyone who steps in. This is also to prevent some wanted criminals from running to barren areas, at least if they do, the official can also know. So entering the wilderness must be done through the entrance, and there must be specialized proof of abilities or warriors. Chu Tian took out his badge and showed it to the staff under review. The person was clearly a bit emotional, and after asking Chu Tian for a signature, he reminded him to pay attention to safety. Chu Tian just smiled and passed away. For him, this low-risk wasteland would not be suitable unless he encountered a third-level monster. But even if it is a third-level monster, Chu Tian can use Tsang to run away directly, which poses no threat to personal safety. After Chu Tian entered the barren area, he stopped the acceleration of Tsang and started walking, while also opening up the unlimited limit. As I walked, I pondered on two things that the boss had mentioned earlier. Red tiger and magic crystal bear can be considered the strongest exotic beasts in this wilderness area. It's easy to say that red tiger has fawn claws from birth, but magic crystal bear only produces bile after reaching the second level. Chu Tian looked at it for a moment, then slowly spoke up. It's not easy to find the second-level magic crystal bear. It seems we can only go back tonight this time. Retrieving his thoughts, Chu Tian suddenly found a silence around him. Although this wasteland was originally a human city, there were no human obstacles, and the original high-rise buildings were dilapidated and left with very little. In its place are herbivorous animals, and tree climbing can be seen everywhere. At this moment, Chu Tian walked openly among them, but there was no movement from any strange beasts. No, there's a problem. Chu Tian lifted his sunglasses and activated his six-eyed ultra-strong line of sight ability. Soon, he discovered the little guys lurking in the dark. Raise the corners of the mouth slightly. The first-order shadow wolf has no significant difference in body size compared to before the mutation, but it has changed the color of its mane and significantly improved its speed and endurance. Always act in groups. Chu Tian deliberately walked towards an open space while speaking. If it weren't for the first-order superior aura emanating from him, then these shadow wolves would have come out and devoured him long ago. I won't hunt in groups anymore. Unfortunately, if I really only have the strength of a first-level superior, then this time it's probably more ominous than good. Chu Tian sneered at himself, while his 6 eyes began to emit a terrifying cold light. The shadow wolf, hiding in the dark, was already eager to see Chu Tian walking foolishly onto an open space. The 4 legs immediately began to accelerate, and a group of ghostly wolves surrounded the trend, rushing towards Chu Tian. But Chu Tian only scanned his 6 eyes to determine the number of shadow wolves. Is there only 13? As Chu Tian spoke to himself, the group of shadow wolves had already arrived nearby. Seeing the prey motionless, their hind legs exerting force, countless wolf claws and fangs attacking Chu Tian. The next second, their attacks were all blocked, 10 centimeters away from Chu Tian. No lower limit. To be honest, this is the first time Chu Tian has applied unlimited limits in practical combat. In front of this group of shadow wolves, who haven't even reached their first-level superiors, it's surprisingly useful. Although the shadow wolf had realized that his attack could not touch Chu Tian, he still desperately attacked Chu Tian. Low-level monsters do not have intelligence, they only retain their primitive instincts. In his eyes, Chu Tian was a prey, an existence that had to be hunted desperately. Chapter 9. Unexpected Joy, Facing the Demon Crystal Bear. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The technique of clockwise rotation. Song. The pale blue sphere instantly engulfed the group of ghostly wolves, with a huge traction that engulfed the surrounding vegetation. Finally torn apart and turned into nothingness. With Chu Tian's current strength, even the instant technique Xuanzhuan Song is enough to instantly kill this group of the lowest level exotic beasts. When the shadow wolf was torn apart, Chu Tian's 6 eyes suddenly noticed that the original position of the shadow wolf was constantly emitting spiritual power. Although extremely rare, there are still some Seeing this scene, Chu Tian instantly realized that because he could assimilate spells, the six eyes could also strengthen their control over spiritual power, naturally allowing them to see the spiritual power in the air. After the death of these exotic beasts, the tiny spiritual power within their bodies will also detach from their bodies and eventually return to nature. Chu Tian suddenly had an idea. That is to absorb these spiritual powers into one's own body. Because the owner of this spiritual power has already died, theoretically speaking, it can indeed be absorbed. And only Chu Tian can absorb it. With this idea in mind, Chu Tian simply placed his right palm in front of him, and the pale blue sphere kept spinning in his hand, sucking in the spiritual power from the air. Until the end, he entered Chu Tian's body. After absorbing it, Chu Tian clearly felt that his spiritual power had indeed increased. That is to say, he can quickly improve his strength through this method. When testing the level originally, it was already approaching the level of a second-level subordinate. Last night's cultivation combined with the spiritual power just now, if we continue like this, we probably won't be able to break through soon. Chu Tian secretly rejoiced, as if he had discovered something remarkable. Others can only cultivate and leveling up, but they can improve by killing monsters. Since this theory was formed, Chu Tian did not leave a trace of it. He immediately used Tsang to increase his own movement speed and headed towards the depths of this barren area. At the same time as rushing, Chu Tian's hands were also condensed with technique Xuanzhuan Tsang. Continuously pulling towards both sides, whether it's some small buildings or exotic beasts, it turns into nothingness. The spiritual power that was about to dissipate was also pulled by Tsang to Chu Tian's side, allowing him to absorb it. Due to the rarity of third-order exotic beasts that can threaten Chu Tian in this barren area, Chu Tian's journey has been incredibly smooth. I just kept killing until there was very little spiritual power left in my body, until Chu Tian felt tired. Exhaling a breath, the constant output of the sorcerer made Chu Tian feel extremely tired, even with 6 eyes. With nearly 10 hours of high-intensity output, even with 6 eyes to reduce mana consumption, he couldn't handle playing like this. The main reason is that the spiritual power reserves in his body are too low. After all, his current level is still a first-level superior. Just after constantly killing monsters, Chu Tian could feel that the spiritual power reserve had reached the second-level lower level. Chu Tian is just too tired now. If he suddenly breaks through, it will lead to a high body load and produce side effects, otherwise he would have broken through earlier. Climbing up from the ground, these 6 eyes made Chu Tian feel both love and hate. He was already tired enough, and these 6 eyes kept him receiving so much information. If I had known earlier, I would have brought 2 sunglasses. After all, these sunglasses were not specially made by Gojo Satoru, and could only darken my original vision. After resting in place for a while, Chu Tian picked up a sack beside him, which contained a pile of red tiger fangs and claws. Unfortunately, I haven't encountered the magic crystal bear along the way, otherwise I would definitely make a lot of money. Carrying a burlap bag, Chu Tian began to return on his original path, and the purpose of this trip was achieved, even with unexpected joy. It refers to the good news that killing exotic beasts can indirectly enhance spiritual power. Harmful, if only I had a storage ring, I wouldn't have to carry these heavy items on my own. Lifting the sack behind him and feeling the weight of nearly 100 pounds inside, Chu Tian couldn't help but sigh. Unfortunately, storage rings are all made by advanced space-type psychics, and their prices are outrageously expensive. Even the cheapest 1 cubic meter of space would require 5 million Xia coins. More expensive than my house. Chu Tian doesn't know how many exotic beasts he needs to sell in order to buy one. Although carrying a bunch of red tiger fangs and claws behind him, due to the low level, it is difficult to sell for 1 million. Chu Tian continued to sigh, but Lu Yen suddenly noticed a slight movement coming from behind. Chu Tian shouted in his heart that something was wrong and suddenly turned around, but he didn't see anything, including 6 eyes. Something is definitely following me. Chu Tian's sense of crisis has never been wrong, his intuition has always been very accurate. Chu Tian put down the burlap bag and remained motionless, observing the surroundings. It was already evening, but due to summer, the sun had not yet finished work. The apricot-colored dusk happened to shine around Chu Tian. With a hint of light from the dusk, Chu Tian finally discovered the strange beast hiding deep in the forest. Standing up with a terrifying physique as high as 3 floors. There are dark purple huge horns in the center of the forehead, a pair of blue bear eyes constantly emitting sharpness, and white fur swaying slightly. And this is exactly the magic crystal bear that Chu Tian has been searching for a long time, but unfortunately, Chu Tian cannot see through the level of this magic crystal bear. Whether you are a superpower or a warrior, you can see through enemies up to 1 level above your own level when the enemy does not use the method of hiding breath. Chu Tian's current level is only a 1st level superior, and he can only perceive abilities within the 2nd level superior. So, this magic crystal bear is at least a 3rd level monster. However, based on the size of this bear, Chu Tian inferred that the demon crystal bear in front of him is at the 3rd level lower level. At this moment, although Chu Tian understood the power gap between the 2 sides, he did not back down. The monster that has been ravaging for a whole day, Chu Tian is also preparing to have something challenging. I just don't know if the remaining spiritual power can sustain it. Hey, that stupid bear. Why don't you dare to come out? Are you afraid because I've killed a strange beast all day? Chu Tian faced the direction of the demon crystal bear, took off his sunglasses, and his 6 eyes instantly emitted a blue killing intent, shouting enthusiastically. Although I don't know if this bear has been following him all the way. But as long as you can appear more aggressive, it's enough. Anyway, this silly bear can't understand what he's talking about. Roar. Magic Crystal Bear did not understand what Chu Tian was talking about, but he could tell that the upright ape in front of him was provoking him. Being a hegemon in this wilderness for so long is really the first time I have been provoked by this kind of provocation. The animalistic nature inside the body was instantly stimulated, and the magic crystal bear erupted at an astonishing speed, running towards Chu Tian. Technique clockwise rotation maximum power. Seeing the demon crystal bear coming towards him, Chu Tian quickly began to sing the highest power of song. Because Chu Tian knew very well that the demon crystal bear with its head on would definitely rush towards him regardless of everything, after all, in its eyes, it was just a first-order vegetable chicken. The pale blue sphere grew larger and larger under Chu Tian's singing, even larger than when tested earlier. As the distance between the magic crystal bear and Chu Tian became closer, Chu Tian no longer hesitated and released the maximum power, song. Song. Chapter 10. Give it a try. You are listening at novelfull.audio. As the maximum power of song charged towards the magic crystal bear, Chu Tian understood that it could not cause fatal damage. So at the moment when song was launched, Chu Tian used song to compress the coordinates and teleported behind the magic crystal bear. Seeing the back of the demon crystal bear exposed in front of him, Chu Tian concentrated his entire curse power on his right hand. With the maximum power of song hitting the demon crystal bear in the front, Chu Tian's fist also fell. The next second, not only did the magic crystal bear bear the tear of song, but even the back of its head was critically hit by Chu Tian. The loud tearing sound and the painful sound of the magic crystal bear echoing in the wilderness. However, Chu Tian was worried about the anger of the demon crystal bear, and after attacking, he used song to move to the other side. The maximum power of the song devoured everything within 20 meters, but Chu Tian saw through his 6 eyes that the body hair on the surface of the magic crystal bear was slowly turning red. Chu Tian is not the same otaku in his past life. In this life, Chu Tian's liberal arts grades are ranked high in the whole school, and 80% of the exotic beasts Chu Tian are well known. Seeing the magic crystal bear changing its body hair, Chu Tian instantly understood that the magic crystal bear in front of him was really angry. As long as the body hair of the magic crystal bear turns red, within half an hour, both defense and attack power will increase by a small level. And this skill can only be used once by the magic crystal bear in each major level. For example, if the magic crystal bear is a third level subordinate but has already used it once, it cannot be used unless it breaks through to the fourth level. It can be said to be extremely precious, only when in a fit of rage will the magic crystal bear use it. As the smoke generated by the song dissipated, a giant object 12 meters tall was staring at Chu Tian with a fierce gaze. Not only the fur on the surface, but even the bear has turned dark red, with its mouth slightly open and constantly exhaling heat. Time passed a little longer, and dusk happened to focus on the bear's head. The domineering appearance coupled with natural scenes made Chu Tian shudder. Hee. Chu Tian smiled, although his remaining spiritual power was only about 15%, he still did not fear and instead faced the challenge. It is said that at the moment when the error between the curse power and the strike is less than 0.000001 seconds, space will distort and the curse power will shine black light. At the same time, the power of this blow will become the original 2.5 th power, far superior to before. Chu Tian believes that with his precise control of the curse power with his 6 eyes, he should be able to strike it, right? Should it be possible, right? When Chu Tian teleported above the demon crystal bear, his right arm began to exert force, charging a punch and slamming it heavily into the face of the demon crystal bear. But in the next moment, the black lightning that Chu Tian was looking forward to did not appear, but the angry expression of the demon crystal bear. Chu Tian's first attempt at black flashing failed unexpectedly. It seems that the heavens have not favored Chu Tian, or rather Chu Tian has not yet reached home through training. But the current problem is not the reason for the failure of Black Flash, but rather how to avoid the bear claws flying towards Chu Tian. I can't borrow any strength in the air, it's too late to use song teleportation. Are you really going to take this blow hard? Chu Tian thought to himself that he was not doing well. While he was running at full strength with no limit, he understood that he couldn't stop it, so his spiritual curse power covered his entire body. Minimize damage as much as possible. When the bear's paw was about to touch Chu Tian, its speed noticeably slowed down, but it kept moving forward. The neutralization without a lower limit is about to break. Chu Tian reluctantly shouted out. Although this is just a third-level subordinate's power accumulating palm, don't forget that the magic crystal bear at this time is in the form of a red lotus, and its attack and defense have both increased by 1 level. Slowly, the invisible barrier attached to the surroundings of Chu Tian seemed to suddenly break, and huge bear paws came towards him. Chu Tian was instantly shot flying out, and even after falling to the ground, the remaining force of this palm made him slide 10 meters. Fortunately, Chu Tian strengthened his defense with his spiritual power curse in advance, which did not cause serious damage to his internal organs. He only had blood flowing out of his mouth. Cough, cough. Lying on the ground, Chu Tian couldn't help coughing up blood. The impact just now made all his organs feel uncomfortable. Watching the demon crystal bear walk towards him step by step, with waves of low growls coming from his mouth, it was obvious that he had no intention of showing mercy to Chu Tian. Faced with the current situation, Chu Tian only exhaled a mouthful of anger and finally stood up. Running again without a lower limit, the pupils under Chu Tian's sunglasses lit up again. Although the sunglasses had already broken one lens, don't worry about the details. After Chu Tian stood up without hesitation, his mind moved and his entire aura instantly rose to a higher level. Breakthrough, second level subordinate. After the breakthrough, Chu Tian's spiritual power was briefly restored, and his entire injury appeared to have improved significantly. But only Chu Tian understood that a breakthrough in an injured state would only worsen the body, and now, the whole situation is just a flash in the pan. But that's enough. Chu Tian threw his hands out, and a pale blue sphere continued to expand. Technique clockwise rotation maximum power. The magic crystal bear noticed the sphere in Chu Tian's hand. Not long ago, it had experienced the power of this thing. Encountering it again at this moment, I was clearly a bit discouraged, and my footsteps slowly stopped moving forward. And the cowardice of the demon crystal bear also gave Chu Tian courage. Chu Tian gambled all his strength to operate the constantly violent sphere in his hand. Song. From singing to launching, Chu Tian only took less than 10 seconds. Even if it's only 10 seconds, this song event, whether it's the size of a sphere or the traction it emits, is unmatched in the past. The strongest strike used by Chu Tian, a second-level subordinate, is powerful enough to instantly kill any third-level subordinate's monster. Even though the opponent's defense has been enhanced to the third-level intermediate level, Chu Tian still has confidence in seriously injuring the opponent. Bang! The huge pale blue sphere produced a loud explosion when it touched the magic crystal bear. Then came the sound of breaking through the air, constantly pulling and tearing. This strike clearly broke through the defense of the magic crystal bear, and on the pale blue sphere, there were continuous waves of red rotation. That's the blood of the demon crystal bear. Seeing the demon crystal bear being restrained by the Tsang, Chu Tian slowly stood up and kept breathing heavily. Can feel the pain of broken internal organs in his body. Chu Tian doesn't want to breathe anymore. His mother, the more he breathes, the more he hurts. At this moment, Chu Tian couldn't help but sigh, if only he could learn the reversal technique. For the reversal technique, this kind of injury is like fart. It can be cured in minutes. Unfortunately, he doesn't know when he can unlock this skill. However, the primary task now is to take down this magic crystal bear. After a moment of relaxation, Chu Tian chanted again, the technique rotates clockwise, maximum power. Song. This song may not be as strong as the previous one, but its power cannot be underestimated. And when the magic crystal bear saw another blue sphere attacking him, its dark red eyes widened. At this moment, it seems to have seen something. Since it was born to its mother, it has been living a carefree life until one day, when its mother was killed by another exotic beast to protect it, it realized the cruelty of this world, and that's when it started Let's Go Through the Lantern.